learning very basic joint locks. Something very visible to start with.
この相手がこう押してくるものに対しても、これはもう関節ですね。
This is very visible joint locks by
手首と肘、手首をこう決めて
using body, wrist is locked, therefore elbows locked and shoulders locked, and that means body is locked. So very visible.
この体勢でこう
And then so you can either make the lock harder or a bit looser. So now it's not real twist, it looks like twisted, but not just a twisting, but locked, locking the joints. And Aikido works in a circular motion. So it works in against circular and circular. It's circulating. And just by circling, it works even harder and better. Side. Though techniques need only little strength, but once joints are locked, that shows how painful and you can control how easily you can control the whole body. And just yes, a bit of a kick on the other joint of the knees. So again, it's all locked. The joints are locked through wrist, elbow, shoulder, and that's why the body is locked. There's a very basic joint locks. So here is obviously much bigger, heavier, having more strength. But using Aikido, simple motion, but once you can hold the body, it works.
ただこの言えるのは力いっぱい持ってどうしようと焦らないんですね。焦らないでいくとこちらは両手が空いてる。
So you can see the attacker using whole his muscular strength and trying to hold him is a hold him. And Aikido side, it doesn't really use muscle strength very much at all, but joint locks, you need only little strength, and then by locking the joints, that works on his bone frame. So you can ignore muscles, doesn't matter having huge muscles, but can work on the frame, bone frame. That's what's happening. And then now I have free hands to use. So I can do whatever I want using my free hands. So having Aikido skills, even someone bigger holding you, not panic, just calm and use your hands. In this case. So even the other person having a muscle strength, but what I was using was concentrated strength. So I don't need to have that huge body or huge muscles. That's what Aikido can do. That's what Aikido can do. So again, it's just needed a small strength of the gathering centered line and concentrated strength. Very small, but this is Aikido atemi, Aikido strikes. Not really obvious punch, but Aikido strikes, which is 70% of Aikido meant to be using Aikido strikes, and then 30% is Aikido joint locks and turning swords. So atemi first, then technique after. That's
でその後技を習得すると反対側の手が蹴られる。
So you don't wait until the second attack is coming. You can use your Aikido strikes and stop him attacking any longer, and then you can do attacks as well. Attacks.
この今のミリミーズキックというのがあってですね。
This is Ibushi is one of Aikido strikes. Blocking, Lawrence. Other hand. This one's called Aiiki-waza, and attackers have to keep attacking. That's the rule in Aikido. But in the reality, you can finish in one technique, but this is one of the training methods to get the timing against attackers. Obviously, attackers need a lot of strength and fitness to keep going. So, usual punches, they're not straight type.
ね、これは合気道家ってのは普通手を下ろしてるんですけども、相手が手を上げたらこっちも上げればいい。
Okay. Right, so okay, usually in Aikido Kamae, we don't pull up our hands, not like boxing. But if the attacker is going to give you this like boxing type attacking and hands up, you can also put your hands up. And that's much easier to block. So don't stick to just the basic. You can apply in any way.
この追ってきたのに対して、打ち返すんじゃなくて跳ね返したりしないで丸くこう回す。
But the blocking we do is not same as like boxing type. Still, it's Aikido. So we use the circular motion and always redirecting the strength of the opponent. So never just blocking and fighting against the attacker's strength. We are redirecting it at the same time. That's why it's circular motion. Circular motion and redirecting the strength all the time. That's Aikido
もう
skills.
一つはこの打ってきたのに対して長くコンタクトして
And
切らない。
and don't cut the strength. You have to keep the contact to reuse the strength of the attackers. Redirect, reuse it.
まだ入ってきたら
So don't cut the strength, and then once you put the attacker on the ground, whatever you want. You can lock them or whatever you want. In modern society, this is a very sort of common attacks. Punches and kicks. Punches, that's a very common attacks.
で、この後は相手の肘肩を
Again, this is the joint block.
こういうのにも対して、
So in our dojo, we practice against the punches. And then because we practice against the punches, the other side, we have to practice punches as well to make it real. And against the kicks. Traditionally, Aikido doesn't have kicks, but if people are attacking, then with the kicks, we have to practice against the kicks as well. Therefore, we practice kicks and techniques against kicks. In Aikido training, there's one rule: attacker have to keep getting up and have to keep attacking, no matter how much you don't want to, but you have to get up and go. Come on, son. And as I always say, Father loves you. Yeah, you're loved. Go again. That's it.
子供の時は正面打ち全然強くなかったんです。今こう。
So of course, when he was young, there was nothing. But now, yes, he's got a strength, so his shomeuchi front strike is really heavy.
これは
And usually when the attacker is heavier than bigger than you, to stop the force is very hard. But this is something about Aikido's strength, that we can use our techniques against someone's bigger, heavier, stronger.
この大きい人と強い人には合気道を合わせるっていうことはぶつからないっていうのは
So Aikido is well known as harmonious art. It doesn't mean soft, but we can always adjust and then sort of redirect the strength. And this is just the timing.
今のは全く力を使ってない
So I didn't really need the strength at all. Just coming and the timing, right angle. Come on, you've got to keep going, Tom, looks like.
今のも力を
So there, just I redirected his strength
この位置から
by moving forward diagonally. I'm just redirecting his strength and using his strength. The timing is very important. If you lose the timing, then you are attacked too late. So you have to move in at right timing. Yes, Aikido's rule, you can't stop. You have to get up and go. More? So-called Aiki-waza. Aiki-waza.
この持たれた相手がしっかり持ってる時にちょっとのこの動きで肘から
So, Aiki-waza, it's something very difficult to actually see because there's hardly anything you can really see unless, I don't know unless, but, So the joint locks, the basic joint locks we did, basic joint locks we practiced from, like, it's very obvious because you can see the twist on the wrist and elbow and shoulders. But the advanced Aikido, advanced Aiki-waza, that's very hard to see. But it's not separate technique. It's just a logical extension of basic joint locks. It's the same. Each time the attacker's body is locked, that's why there's a slow happening, but it's hard to see.
この位置からこの手をちょっと返すそうするとこの手首肘肩が決まって相手の背中に
So only tiny bit of twist, it's hard to see, but locking through the wrist and elbow and shoulder. That's locked. You can see that Uke's body is locked. Then move. There it's locked. There's no twist, obvious twist, but locked.
で今度はちょっと今こっちに返すちょっと流れて返す
And it's now different way I locked. It's so hard to see, but it's just the same as any twisting joint locks. It's the same principle. But when you really understand the joints, not big movements are needed any longer. Small movements is enough to lock the joint.
この両手を持った状態でも同じ
So it doesn't matter if the attacker is holding one hand or two hands. Each time the attacker's body is locked. Oh. And now it's a different direction that I locked. I locked and then they pushed in a different angle. As Aikido is more advanced, there's no obvious locks anymore. So that's why Aikido is thought as a bit of fake, people think. But there's a lock happening if like Ryan knows what's happening in his body. Your body is? Slingshot. So it's like the shock in your body where your body's locked up and can't sort of move in a way it's rigid. And then the next move, the force, is like slingshot. That's how he feels. So they have to be locking before you do technique. It doesn't matter being held at the wrist or hand or arm or shoulder. Have to lock the opponent's body first. This is two joint locks. That's what I'm using. So his strength is coming into my body and I have to return it by locking. Once the body is locked, then you can either turn or push or backwards. And the same against the two. So now two separate strengths are coming from the two directions, but same principle. Gather it into the one solid, one, yeah, and move it. So locks everything as one. Even two bodies, two strengths, locks up into one. So how did you feel, Lawrence? Any feeling you can explain to the kids?
Very good.
So you don't really know what's happening, but there's a technique happening. Not just the sensei dropping down, but from the air, locking their bodies, and so therefore you feel what? Weight. You feel the weight pushing your body down. That's why you are crushed. Like what? Anpo.
Lead weight.
Oh, lead weight, right. That's how much they're feeling. Yeah, not your body getting heavy or anything. Another two. So there are four separate strengths. And everyone's much heavier, much stronger than I am. But it's the same principle using Aikido. It's really lock them up into one. Yeah. It's harder to find the spots to grab. It's more strength coming into my body, but it's really the same principle. Once you can do it against one, you can increase the numbers and train to collect collect all the strength together into one and lock it up. Each of them are locked. Yeah. So Aikido always trains, sort of expects multiple attackers. Like competition or game, like boxing, it's on the ring where you have only one opponent. That's very different. Aikido always thinking of multiple attackers, therefore we don't have groundwork techniques. Because once you're on the ground, when you're having multiple attackers, it's too dangerous. So Aikido, we are usually always up, never really go down. Once you fall, you have to get up very quickly to be safe. But that's why Aikido practice against multiple attackers. In the reality, can be multiple attackers. So the theory about against multiple attackers, always separate them into one by one, not one versus three. So you have to keep moving to make the three people do one at a time. So you have to keep moving, making sure one at a time. One at a time. One at a time. Oh, yeah. Watch the kids. Yeah, kill them all. Yeah, they're okay. Sensei. Of course, Michael is fine. Of course, he didn't kill them. That's how it works.